Lara Croft, a well-known character in video games rather than movies. Published by Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, one of the best releases was the reboot of Tomb Raider in 2013. The first game to ever get TressFX shampoo for Lara's hair. Tomb Raider 2013 was an amazing action-packed game with an interesting storyline. From brain-melting puzzle solving to slaughtering a whole army of armored soldiers, this game had a lot to offer. The game begins with Lara Croft's character development, which occurs at the early stages of the game, and it continues to the end where she becomes a legendary survivor. The story is about Lara on her way to the first expedition to find the lost kingdom named Yamatai, located in the east of Japan. All of a sudden, the ship is struck by a vicious storm and splits in two. Upon reaching the shore, she gets separated from her group and is captured by a strange man in a cave with other bodies already there. From there, the journey begins for Lara Croft. This game wasn't like the other Tomb Raider games. This one had a different perspective of letting the player experience a story as well as the other aspects of Tomb Raider. It can feel like an open world game and also a level-based game. There are approximately 22 levels, with each levels having campsites, new objectives and explorations to do. And of course the tombs with puzzles. Camps get unlocked as you progress to let you save, upgrade or add skill points. Sometimes Lara might say things happening or has happened to better visualize the story to the player. The game had so much changes compared to the previous games, like locating keys to unlock areas aren't necessary now. Instead, obstacles are there which had to be overcome with specific gears to progress through the plot. Lara's friends often give her objectives to bring this or that, and then the story progresses. For exploration, Lara can go for salvages from easy to hard to reach areas. Solving mini puzzles to get salvages are always worth it because it gives Lara the opportunity to upgrade her arsenal. There's also locked boxes to loot, which gives weapon mods. A certain amount of a specific weapon mods can be used to modify a weapon. For instance, the rifle can also shoot grenades later in the game after the 3 weapon mods are found. The grenades can be used to kill multiple enemies obviously, as well as blast breakable obstacles. There's relics which can be found throughout the map. The relics give information and often a two-sided view which can reveal more information about it. If you are a geeky nerd, you can go for all the relics instead of destroying humans and wolves. Additionally, you can be geekier if you go for the other documents, which include scrolls, journals, and also secrets. There's also GPS caches to be found, which rewards more salvages if you find the notes. Salvages can be found in crates, dead body, locked boxes, or even in animals if you take the bone collector skill. Then there's different tombs which has the puzzles to solve. The puzzles can be of two types, physical or elemental. Elemental-based puzzles requires Lara to burn objects to create paths. Physical-based puzzles makes Lara use different objects as weights, sometimes even herself as a weight to solve the puzzle and move forward. Lara's instinct are her step-brother in this game. Whenever she is stuck on any puzzle, she can use her survivor instinct to observe highlighted objects. This instinct is a cool addition for the new players who needs a little helping hand in the beginning. The tombs are scattered throughout the map and can be done at any time the player wants, even after the main story completion. The combat is traditional third-person style gunplays and melees. There's also stealth, but in my opinion, playing this game guns blazing feels a lot better than hitting someone from behind when they're taking a piss. The gunplay is really good. Lara's arsenal has 4 main weapons to fight with: the bow, pistol, rifle, and the shotgun. Every weapon can be upgraded in base camps with salvages collected from looting. The pistol isn't that good in the beginning, but with proper upgrades, later in the game it becomes a beast. The rifle has a realistic recoil pattern. I think the rifle's crosshair bloom can be a reason to miss shots because it becomes pretty big when you shoot without stopping. So shooting in burst is a good idea with the rifle. The rifle has the room to upgrade its magazine size or add another magazine with the initial one. It also has a grenade launcher mod, which I mentioned earlier. The grenades are really helpful to wipe out multiple enemies at once. Lara's bow is another interesting weapon. It gets 2 major mods from time to time. One is the fire arrow, which can burn enemies or objects when shot. The other one is rope arrows, which is super necessary to progress as there's a lot of major places where you can't reach without using the rope arrows. Later, when Lara gets the compound bow from Jonah, she can also stick the rope arrow to climbable craggy walls. There's also other upgrades like the napalm arrows, which makes a pool of fire, or reinforced limbs for stronger shots, which are all quite good. In the late part of the story, Lara gets a rope ascender which can be used alongside the rope arrows from the bow. The rope ascender makes it so easier to explore more conveniently. Basically what it does is when Lara is rope climbing somewhere, she can ascend it to reach there faster. Also, it can break harder walls, which couldn't be broke with Lara's strength before. My personal favorite weapon was the shotgun. I even upgraded it to 100%. I fucking loved it. It's so useful in close combat, which I mostly did in this game just for the shotgun. Lara can use the shotgun to break wooden door blockers as well as enemy armors when fighting the storm guards later in the game. It starts out with a trench shotgun and later with shotgun burst it can be modified to be a combat shotgun. It can then shoot incendiary bullets which burn enemies, or long range bullets with the choke, or even a drum magazine which increases the ammo size of the shotgun. The melee weapon player gets to use is the pry axe, which also gets upgrades like reinforced axe, which can strike enemies and can be used to open locked boxes and mash or crank doors and other stuffs. It also gets a climbing axe upgrade early in the game, which Lara can use to climb craggy walls. Climbing is really fun in Tomb Raider. Jumping from somewhere and grabbing the craggy walls with the axe is quite satisfying. To speed up climbing, Lara can jump and hit the walls until she reaches where she needs to reach. It can be used as a melee weapon to hit enemies or even finish up crippled enemies when there's a prompt above them. The combat is so fun with the combos you can do with everything you got. The XP you get during your hunting, fighting and collecting artifacts is directly connected to skills. If you get enough XP you get skill points and then player can choose any skill to master from the 3 given skill trees. Lara can choose skills from Hunter, Brawler or Survivor skill trees. The skills are pretty interesting and some are game changing too. Like the Weapon Expert skills which adds the headshot reticle, and Lara can also finish off an enemy with her weapons. Dirty Tricks let Lara blind enemies by throwing dirt in their face. Blinding and then comboing that with other weapons is a really fun thing to do. Dodge Kill lets Lara dodge opponents and strike them with a quick time button press. Oh, that brings up the quick time topic. There's actually a lot of times the player has to encounter this quick time and button mashes. Like already in the beginning the game starts guiding you to do this quick time button mashing to activate her plot protection. Quick time events includes button mashes to stealth kill enemies, or in cinematic events where Lara dies if the player don't do the quick time button presses. I'm not really a fan of it, but it's also not too bad. Oh yeah, Lara has so much plot protections which makes the cutscenes so dramatic. Every time some fucked up shit is about to happen, some kind of plot armor activates. It's all fine though, I don't mind about it. It's all a part of keeping the story alive. There's also skill levels named Rookie, Hardened and Specialist, which player can achieve by spending skill points. Reaching Hardened by spending 7 skill points allows the player to use the climbing axe as a melee weapon, which I mentioned already. I personally think skills are one of the most important thing in this game. And you wanna know what else is important? Lara Croft's fucking hair. It looks phenomenal. Turning it on makes my FPS gone, but I don't mind because it looks absolutely amazing. I have never seen any other game with this gorgeous hair graphics and physics except Witcher 3, which released after 2 years. But still I like Tomb Raider's hair better. Lara can light up torches from almost any fire sources. She also gets lighter and fire striker later. Then it's not necessary to light fire from a source, instead the fire can be made by using her lighter anytime. Sometimes it can feel a little monotonous as there's no sprinting feature in this game. I really wanted this game to have a sprint option, which the sequels added later, but it's still fine because the workaround of this was spamming the shift key or a combination of shift and space keys. Doing this makes Lara's movement a lot faster. While Tomb Raider Underworld in 2008 had an okay graphics, Tomb Raider 2013 blew my mind away with its graphics. Replaying this game in 2021 still didn't make me feel like the graphics was even close to bad. The visuals of Lara's hair, the environment and weathers all looked graphically astonishing. It was too good for a 2013 game. The objects had rigid body dynamics to add more immersive feeling. If you don't know what that is, basically it's the objects that acts realistically to collisions and forces. Say Lara is moving and objects getting pushed away if it's hitting her legs. The water drop effects when raining would feel like there's actual water droplets on your screen. Lara's hair rendered with Trace Effects shampoo looks magnificent. The hair physics, which distributes themselves according to Lara's movement, looks super realistic. The visuals totally aged well for this game in my opinion. The fast travel option was a part of the game. Players can fast travel to previously discovered base camps to complete different tombs and find other artifacts if they feel like. As I said, the game gives a mixed feeling of level-based game and also an open world game. The AI is also great, to be honest. The enemies react to you if you are aiming at them by moving their head. I even tried in normal mode and the AI also works well there. I haven't noticed any dumb AI moments. Square Enix did a really nice job. There are different types of enemies like casual dudes shooting with bows and rifles. Some throws dynamite to flush Lara out. The enemy AI is really good, as I said. Some melee enemies are also available who charges at you with their swords. There's mini boss battles where the enemy has a shield and a sword. Shooting won't work much, players have to dodge and then attack the enemy when there's an opening. Combat gets quite repetitive, but it never bored me. It's always a good experience when I get in combat in this game. The objects like water barrels, walls, wooden plank, cloths can get destroyed by weapon hits and collision. It makes the game a lot more immersive. I also encountered 2 big boss battles where the boss is heavily armored and players have to carefully complete some quick time events and break the armor one by one first, then they can finish the boss. The fights are okay, they are not too great. Without the quick time events you cannot finish the enemies, so that kinda feels a little odd to me. The tombs are really fun puzzles to pass some time out of the main story. It doesn't take much time to do if the player knows what to do, and after completing, it rewards you with Lara opening a chest with the same animation every time. The same gasp of awe with the slight gasp after. As I mentioned in the beginning, Lara and her friends shipwrecks by a storm. Later Lara finds out that they're at Yamatai and starts to find out more about it. Her Japanese friend, which she calls Sam, meets a mysterious man named Matthias who is actually the Sun Queen's servant. The Sun Queen's name is Himiko in this stranded island, and she's the reason the people in this island can't leave this island. It's shown multiple times that whenever they get a chance to leave this island, the storm stops them from leaving. From this, Lara assumed that the storm is actually controlled by something and that is the reason they can't leave this island. On the other hand, Sam is taken by Matthias to the Storm Guardians. The Guardians are Japanese soldiers who serve for Queen Himiko in this island. The Storm Guards are a little hard to kill than the regular enemies you'd encounter. There's also another Russian group called the Solari Brotherhood who are also the inhabitants of the island who serves Himiko. Lara encounters a lot of major Russian high-ranked members of Solari Brotherhood and kills them to move forward. Lara's allies are Roth, who is a mentor of Lara. He is a badass grown man in the game who dies protecting Lara by taking a tomahawk which was thrown at Lara. A cook named Jonah, who is a really good friend of Lara, who calls her
my little bird.
A nerd named Alex, who is the technician of this ship, Endurance. He sacrifices himself after triggering an explosion in Endurance in order to save Lara. Oh, I forgot to mention, Alex has a really cool escape button t-shirt. Wish I had one of those. A Japanese girl named Samantha, who is Lara's best friend. Reyes, another mechanic of the Endurance who didn't want to believe her theory about the island. Ship's helmsman Grim, who dies in the shantytown level. A soy boy doctor named Whitman who does anything to get fame and surrenders to Solari just to get a story for his show. Now Himiko, who is the main antagonist of the game, doesn't appear physically until the very end of the game. Lara later realizes that Himiko's soul has been transferring to new vessels until now, and this time is going to be Samantha's soul. Matthias, who claims the Sun Queen Himiko, talks through him, kidnaps Samantha and starts the ritual of transferring her soul to Himiko's vessel. Lara fights her way in and finishes Matthias with some quick time events. Samantha was saved by Lara. Lara and her alive friends then finally leaves the island, where Lara mentions in the end that she is not going home. Then the sequel comes after a year, Rise of the Tomb Raider. This was an origin story of Lara Croft. As we can see, she isn't that brave type in the beginning and she goes through different moments and fights to become a hardcore survivor we usually know as Lara Croft. In my opinion, the story was a good starting point for Lara to begin her journey as a well-known survivor and explorer. I really didn't dislike anything in the single player. It was an amazing game, but at one part the game lacks is the multiplayer. It's just terrible. The multiplayer lets you take any character to play as. Some characters are locked and needs higher levels to unlock. There are 4 game modes, but I couldn't find any match except the team deathmatch even in 2021. And I'm also shocked that there were some tryhard players too. Like there's a fucking level 60 player who was playing like an absolute mad lad. In multiplayer, you can pretty much do everything you do in single player, such as climbing, dodging, rolling, and also you can even sprint in multiplayer. I would love to see sprinting in the single player mode. Multiplayer felt really boring to me, but I guess it's because of the dead server and us dying too much. I personally feel Tomb Raider is not a good fit for multiplayer. Single player is more than enough to have all the fun you can have. Tomb Raider sold 1 million copies in just 48 hours of its release, and as of November 2017, it has sold 11 million copies. That's some really high sale numbers. If you have come to the end, then thank you very much for watching. This kind of contents need quite some time to make, so if you want to motivate me to make more contents, simply hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. That's it.